All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of This Is Me. All right, so I'm not very familiar with recording myself, so sometimes I look at myself on the camera instead of on the actual camera lens, so forgive me if my eyes are not actually on you. So today's question is, where do I live? I live in the Pacific Northwest, specifically Washington State, in the greater Seattle area. And I really, really like it here. The weather is temperate. That means it doesn't get too hot or too cold. The seasons are pretty mild, so even if it does get cold, it doesn't last more than a couple weeks. Like in the wintertime. This winter has been a little bit colder than winters in the past. And we've gotten a lot more snow this year than we have before. But typically, we have like a 2-week winter, and then the rest of the time is kind of just chill. It's like an early springtime, almost. Or if we do get snow, it happens on the first day of spring, as opposed to like during Christmas time. So that's cool. I really like that. And the summers don't get crazy hot, which I love because I tend to get tension headaches in the summertime. Maybe it's because I squint a lot. I squint a lot even when it's not bright outside, so that's not too far a stone to throw. Or just plain dehydration. Who knows? I haven't figured it out yet, nor has my doctor, so we're still working on that. I am from the Midwest. I grew up, or I lived for the first 8 years of my life in Michigan, a small area in Cassopolis, which is right just north of Indiana. If you're familiar with the Mitten, no, this is the Mitten of Michigan. We lived here. This is about Cassopolis, and you have Grand Rapids here, and you have Kalamazoo, Michigan about here, and Cassopolis is here, and then down here in Indiana we have Elkhart. So I grew up in Cassopolis, and then before when I went into second grade, or right before my second grade year, we moved to Elkhart, Indiana, and I lived there for a while, and up until I was in high school, I went to up my sophomore year of high school, and then I transferred to a boarding school in Ball State, or Muncie, Indiana, which is where Ball State, Indiana is located. And I went there for my junior and senior year of high school. It was called the Indiana Academy of Science, Mathematics, and Humanities. It was a great school. It was a public school, but it was application-based, and so it was really nice. Got an early experience of what it would be like to be away from home when I was in college. And, and I just remembered, another thing that I really like about living in the Pacific Northwest is that you have, like, the 7 wonders of the world out here. You can go just half an hour to a few hours in any direction east, northeast, east, or southeast to get to mountains. So you have the mountains on one side, you have the ocean if you go far enough to the west, and in some areas, like on the Olympic Peninsula, there's the rainforest. There is a rainforest, and there's also on the other side of the mountains a desert. I haven't actually been to the far side of the mountains yet, so that's I guess that's an adventure to be had sometime soon, hopefully. But I've been to the rainforest in the Olympic Olympic Peninsula. I've been to the ocean, sort of. Not actually, I don't know if I've been all the way to the ocean. I've been pretty far out, but the sound is really big. The Puget Sound is this big body of water that is right next to where I live. Like, the giant body of water that I see on a regular basis is the sound, not the ocean. And I have to remind myself that from time to time because I forget sometimes. But it is ocean water. It's just not the ocean proper. But I've been on the islands out here. I really want to go to Orcas Island, and mainly the main reason for that is because one of my favorite authors is Nora Roberts, and she wrote a book called The Search, and it is actually takes place on Orcas Island. So it would be really cool to kind of see how her descriptions of the island kind of fit in the reality of the island. I I like all the parks. There's so many state and national parks out here that, I mean, we could go to a different park every weekend and still take months to explore all of them. And it's really awesome and really fun to see just how the different parks are kind of designed and organized and put together, and all the different things that the different parks offer. So that's where I'm from, and that's where I currently am, and there are other places that I've traveled to. I haven't done a whole lot of traveling in my life, but some of the places that I've been to, we went to, as a family, to Washington, D.C. We were en route to a wedding, and we stopped in D.C. on the way there because it was on the way. We lived in Washington at the time, and we were headed towards the New Jersey, Pennsylvania area. And so we decided to make a big trip out of it and go to Washington, D.C. and explore the area, and seeing the Lincoln Memorial and the Martin Luther King Jr. Monument and Memorial, and we weren't able to see the Washington Monument because it was under construction. I guess there had been some type of storm or earthquake at the time, and so they had to reinforce the base. But the mirror pool, that was really cool, seeing that, and seeing we saw the motorcade, whether it had the president in it or not at the time, who knows, but that was still cool to see. We got up to, the outside fence of the White House, so it was really nice to see that front lawn, or the back lawn. I think it was the back lawn. And then seeing the soldiers standing at attention outside the doors. We also, so we went out there for a wedding. So I've been to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We didn't do a whole lot of exploring in Philadelphia. And then I've been to New Jersey, because that's where the wedding was, or the reception was. The wedding was in Philadelphia, the reception was in New Jersey. It was this area that, really close to the border. I've been to Illinois, specifically Chicago. I had some family that lived in Chicago for a little while, so I used to visit there often. I've been to Kentucky. We were en route to We were en route to Virginia for a missions trip that I went on when I was in my freshman year of college. And we stopped in Kentucky as a midway point, and we stayed over at some people that were hosting. So that was really cool. We didn't really do anything in Kentucky, but I was in Kentucky. I stayed for more than just a drive-through. We stayed overnight. Then we went to Virginia, and we were there for a few days to a week. I'd say it was 3 or 4 days. Maybe it was a whole week. I've been to South Carolina. I went there when I was a kid, and that was when I first learned that being out in the sun all day gave me really bad headaches. That's my earliest memory of having that happen to me. And it was for a family reunion. So that it was fun, but I remember having that headache while I was there. I was somewhere between 8 and 10 years old. I remember my younger brother and sister didn't go because they were deemed too young. And so my sister was born when I was 8, and I want to say that she was between 1 and 2 when we went down there, so I had to have been like 9 or 10 years old, maybe a little older, I don't remember. I've been to San Diego, California. We were on our way to Tijuana, Mexico, which was the next one that I was going to list, to a wedding, and we flew down to San Diego because that's what everybody says you should do, and we drove over to Mexico. And while we were in San Diego, we went to the San Diego Zoo, and that was pretty cool. It's a really big zoo. Like, I'm used to the zoo out here in Seattle, and it's not nearly as big as the San Diego Zoo. And it was really cool to see the different exhibits and the different ways that the zoo is set up compared to the one that I'm familiar with out here. In Mexico, we stayed in a nice hotel for the wedding, and my daughters and I went down to the beach and had fun down there. It was cold though, and it was like right after Christmas, right? I think we were down there from December 29th until January 5th or 6th. And it was cold. I guess I wasn't expecting it necessarily to be like summertime weather, but I was thinking Mexico, that's south. It's not going to be that cold in December, but it was not freezing like it would have been if I were back in Michigan, but it definitely was not comfortable how cold it was there, and I was surprised. And the thing that sucked the most was that when we left Mexico, the day that we left, it was 75 degrees in San Diego. And so we didn't get to really enjoy a lot of the outside because it was just cold and it wasn't comfortable being out in there. But we did spend some time outside on the beach, so that was cool. And like I said, I'm from Michigan, so I've been to Michigan, and I'm also from Indiana, so I've been to Indiana. I lived in Elkhart, Indiana, for many years, and I went back and forth, actually, between Indiana and Michigan. So I grew up in Michigan, my family moved to Indiana, and then I went to school for 1 year in Indiana, and then I transferred to a school in Michigan, Western Michigan University, actually, because that's my husband and I, we got married, and so I went to live with him, and so I transferred to Michigan, to Michigan school, and we lived there for a couple years before we came out to Washington. So my question for you is, where are you? Like, I mean, obviously you don't have to give me your address because that would be kind of weird, but are you in the Midwest? Are you on the East Coast, on the West Coast? Are you in the Pacific Northwest where I am? Let me know in the comments, and we can see how close or how far away all of us are from each other. Thank you for listening. Bye.